It's March 2011. Pokémon Black and White have just dropped, and my younger self was ready for a new adventure. The store I bought the games from was handing out these release day exclusive art folios, and I still remember the excitement I felt when I opened it and got my first glimpse of Unova. I loved these games when I was a kid. I completed the post-game, traded with friends to catch all the version exclusives, and even trained my first level 100 Pokemon. But then one day, I erased all that progress. Because I was a dumb kid who deleted my save files whenever I wanted to replay these games. So here we are, years later, and I think it's time for a fresh start. But this time, I want to put a spin on things by trying out my very first Nuzlocke. A Nuzlocke adds rules to a playthrough to make it more challenging, and there are 3 official rules. 1. If your Pokemon faints, it's dead. You can't use it anymore. 2. You're only allowed to catch the first Pokemon you encounter per area. And 3. Every Pokemon gets a nickname, so that you grow more attached to them. Those rules have me a bit worried because I've never been one to strategize in these games, and usually just brute force my way through battles. But I'm sure things will go fine, right? How bad could this Nuzlocke really be? Pokémon White jumps right into things. Boom, pick a starter. I've done playthroughs with Oshawott and Tepig before, so Snivy, you're next. I'll name you Serp. We dive into our first battles with our newly introduced rivals, Bianca and Sharon. And wow, their theme is way catchier than I remember.
When a good thing goes bad.
After destroying my room, we meet Professor Juniper, who sets us off on an adventure to complete the Pokédex. At our starting line, there's this really sweet moment where the 3 of us take our first step into Route 1 together. Here, I caught my first wild Pokemon, a Patrat I named Junior. Then, we arrive at Accumula Town. You probably recognize this place's theme as the Furt song, but did you know that if you talk to these 2 NPCs, they add piano and drums to the music? Here, we're introduced to Team Plasma and its leader, Getsis, who preaches that Pokemon shouldn't be forced to serve humans, they should be free. Honestly, he's making a good point. For now. Then, we meet a new rival, N, who sympathizes with Getsis' ideas. He challenges us to a battle and... We're only in the first town, and we've already got another banger? All of this? For a Purloin? Sheesh. Moving on to Route 2, I caught a Lillipup I named Woofer. Then head to Stratton City, where our first gym challenge awaits. This gym leader's ace will always have a type advantage over your starter. There is someone nearby that offers you a Pokemon to even the odds, but I declined. I do not like these monkeys. Especially you knockoff Infernape. Instead of making the smart choice and accepting help, or training up my other team members, I stubbornly set Serp into battle. Alright, we're back. The smart thing to do in a rematch would be to not use Serp again. But I still did, because I'm an idiot. At least Chili didn't get a crit this time. Just like that, we've earned our first gym badge. Next, I did a little detour in the Dream Yard, where I helped Bianca rescue a stolen Pokemon from Team Plasma. While I was there, I caught a Purloin and named her Skitten. Then, we're off to Route 3. Here, Serp evolved into a Servine, and I also dropped off Woofer at the daycare. We then ran into Sharon and teamed up to handle some more Team Plasma tomfoolery. For a group that's all about freeing Pokemon, they sure do steal a lot of them. After that, it's time to challenge the second gym in Nacrene City, and my team's looking quite sparse. Serp, Junior, and Skitten. There's no new members because I accidentally killed a Blitzel in Route 3, didn't know that Wellspring Cave counted as its own area, and nerfed myself because I didn't know about the Pinwheel Forest clause. So here we are. Watchog has always been a goofy Pokemon to me, but Lenore's Watchog is no joke. It knows Retaliate, a move that doubles in power after taking out her Herdier. I took a chance and had Serp tank it, and luckily, he survived. This fight was still tense though, because Watchog kept putting Serp to sleep. After spamming some healing, we managed to secure the win with no casualties. I know some players ramp up the difficulty of their Nuzlockes by banning healing items, and to that I say, no thanks, I'm not strong enough for that yet. Right after the gym battle, Team Plasma strikes again, stealing a valuable Dragon Skull from Lenora. We pursue them in Pinwheel Forest, but on the way, I got jumped by these 2 kids in a battle I was totally unprepared for. leading to the deaths of both Skitten and Junior. My run almost ended against 2 Sawaddles. That's embarrassing. I was hoping to recoup some losses by catching one of my favorite Gen 5 Pokemon here, Venipede. But instead, I encountered another Sawaddle, who I caught and named Pineapple. After a chase, we catch up to Team Plasma, retrieve the Dragon Skull back, and continue on our journey. Oh, whoa, I just got goosebumps. Oh, I have goosebumps right now. I personally feel like city living isn't for me, but Castelia sometimes makes me rethink that. What an awesome, lively place. We walk over to Castelia's gym, and it looks like Sharon is one step ahead of us. He's a very ambitious trainer, but sometimes can come off as a bit intense. Before we can catch up by taking on this gym, we have to deal with Team Plasma yet again. This time, they stole Bianca's Pokemon, but instead of fighting again, Getsis just gives it back. Huh, maybe it's Team Plasma's members who are giving it a bad name, and Getsis might actually be a noble ope. Nope, he's just a bad person too, and he's not great at hiding it. With that ordeal behind us, it's time to challenge Gym Leader Berg and his bug types. My team is still pretty lean right now. We got Serp, Pineapple, and Caustic, who I caught recently in Route 4. The last 2 are pretty underleveled, so I hastily rushed into battle with Serp, and oh my god, my fight against his Leavanny was horrible. I was planning to defeat Leavanny by spamming Slam, because Serp's grass type moves wouldn't have been very effective, but of the 18 uses of Slam I had left, only 4 actually landed. 6 were blocked by Protect, and the other 8 missed because of a sand attack from earlier. I realized way too late that I needed to swap Serp out to reset his accuracy, so tragically, Caustic was sacrificed for the cause. If only I remembered to do this before I ran out of Slam though. All I could do now was whittle Leavanny down with grass type moves in a grueling battle of attrition, and I was constantly having to heal him from the brink of death. Finally, on just 1 HP after taking a critical hit, Serp defeated Leavanny. Oh, that was exhausting. Moving up through Route 4, we get some back-to-back rival battles against Bianca and Sharon. I must say, these surprise rival battles are frightening. They haven't given me trouble yet, but they're just a way for me to lose Pokemon. What a way to keep me on my toes. In the Desert Resort, my first wild encounter was another Sandile. There's something called the Dupe's Claws in Nuzlocke, which lets you try another encounter if you run into a Pokemon you've already caught. But here, I decided to catch it anyways because this was a chance to reincarnate Caustic, and I named her Funny. You know what else is funny? A few minutes later, she died. Right after this loss, I encountered a Yamask, who I like to imagine is Funny's ghost. In remembrance, I'll also name you Funny. After spending way too long in the desert, we arrive at Nimbasa.
In the Electric City!
We run into N again, who reveals that he's the king of Team Plasma, with plans to become the champion of Unova. His goal is to use his power as champion to separate all Pokemon from their trainers, unless I collect all 8 gym badges, challenge the Elite Four, and stop him. Which, you know, I was already going to do anyways. Now, this level difference is starting to get downright disgusting. I have a bad habit of doing that. So let's take this opportunity to catch some new Pokemon around Nimbasa. In Route 5, I was hoping to get a Solosis, but ended up running into a Leopard instead. I didn't want a Leopard, and turns out I didn't actually need to catch it since Dupe's Claws can apply to evolutions too. But it's not a big deal. I hopped 1 route over and found a Solosis anyways, who I named Xeno. Afterwards, in Losthorn Forest, I caught the Venipede I wanted, who I named Vooper. I quickly evolved him into a Whirlipede, and also evolved Pineapple all the way up into a Leavanny. I even evolved Serp into a Serperior. We are on a roll. Well, except for one little hiccup.
Damn it, I'm so stupid.
With a heavy heart, I boxed Xeno, then went on to challenge Nimbasa's gym. Even though my team's level distribution is a bit better now, I still used Serp to defeat Elisa's team. He just learned one of my favorite moves, Leaf Blade. I got to use him. Also, I'm a coward. Before moving on, I want to take a step back and share what might be one of my favorite scenes in this game. Throughout our encounters with Bianca so far, she's shown a lot of enthusiasm for adventure, but we get the impression that she might not be prepared for it. At Nimbasa, she's confronted by her father, who demands that she return home, probably out of concern for her safety. Then Elisa steps in, defending Bianca's desire for independence. She assures her father that she'll be safe because trainers always have Pokemon by their side. And in the end, he agrees to let Bianca continue her journey. A big reason this scene stood out to me was, of course, the background music. It perfectly captures the conversation between these characters, underscoring some of the themes of this game and what makes Pokemon special. Moments like these remind me why I love this series. Alright, enough of that emotional stuff. Let's get back on track. While leaving Nimbasa, we meet Adler, the champion of the Unova region, and he tells me that I have to fight these kids? Yeah, I don't know about that. So after crushing the dreams of those children, we enter Driftvale City. The gym leader, Clay, informs us that Team Plasma has been causing trouble here and is hiding in cold storage. Sharon and I head there to find them. I wanted to catch a Vanillite here to add an ice type to the team, but instead, I got a Timburr. I'm sorry, that was pretty bad even for me. We eventually corner the Team Plasma members, with Sharon making another out-of-pocket comment. But before we can take them into custody, Getsis arrives and threatens us, and we're forced to release the members. I'm impressed with how well this game makes you feel the growing influence of Team Plasma across Unova. It's quite ominous, and a sign that we've got to get stronger if we want to stop them. So let's challenge this gym's ground types. This was a great opportunity to train Pineapple, who, despite being underleveled, was really packing a punch with her grass-type moves. I was really growing fond of her here, and honestly, I was thinking she could replace Serp sometimes after this. But then against Clay's last Pokemon, Excadrill, she fell victim to a critical hit. No! Goodbye, Pineapple. With the 5th gym badge in hand, we can now use HM Fly. I caught Goose, a ducklet on Driftvale Bridge, and had him fly me all the way back to Nacrene City, where I finally resurrected the Plume Fossil. I freaking love the design of Archon and Archeops. Welcome, Rafer. I look forward to journeying with you. Into Chargestone Cave we go.
I didn't think it could be possible. I'm even dumber than I thought I was.
Welcome, Sput. I look forward to journeying with you. Into Chargestone Cave we go. Getting through Chargestone Cave really grinded my gears, because I didn't have any strong counters to all the other Clinks here. Sure, I caught that Timber earlier, but I boxed him immediately after catching him. I'm just not a fan of how throbby he looks. As we move deeper into the cave, we're into Professor Juniper and Bianca, who gifts us a lucky egg. Top tier item, thank you very much. And it helped us speed up grinding to evolve Funny into a Whoa, Game Freak did not think that name through. At the cave's exit, we're stopped by N. He seems a lot more feisty than before, and is even more motivated to separate Pokemon from people, to make black and white be more clearly distinct. We then enter Mistralton City and meet Gym Leader Skyla, but before we can challenge her, we have to meet her again up in Celestial Tower. On the way there, I caught a deerling I named Buck. Since I've already got Serp, Buck's going straight in the box. In the very next battle, I ran into a Zeepstrika, which was a bummer because that would have been way more useful. To make things worse, it used Pursuit on Goose, killing him. Pursuit has never been a problem for me, but in this playthrough it suddenly is. What the heck? At Celestial Tower, I caught a Litwick that I named Abstract, then made my way to the top. Here, Skyla asks us to ring the tower's bell. After it's reverberating now, it's time to face the Nameless King. Wait, hold up. Wrong game. Sorry about that. Up until this point of the game, I've been relying on Serp in gym battles, even with type disadvantages. But now, I'm scared. I don't want to lose my boy. So to prep for Skyla's gym, I trained up Sput and evolved him into a Clang. These flying types didn't stand a chance. On the way to the next gym, I grinded my way through Twist Mountain, where I caught a Bulldor and named him Dan. I need to trade to evolve him, and that requires friends, so it looks like that's not happening. Off to the box you go. After getting lost many times here, I eventually found my way to Icarus City. Abstract was the obvious choice for this gym, and he made light work of a bunch of Cub Shoes. When it came to Bryson's Beartick though, I chickened out and switched Spud in, and good thing I did, because he used Brine. That was a close call for Abstract. After defeating Bryson, Team Plasma shows up and tells us to meet N at Dragon Spiral Tower. Here, I evolved Abstract into a Lampent, and caught a Gullet who I named Nazgub. At the top, we encounter N, who's befriended a legendary Pokemon, Reshiram. Together, they now have the power to sway the people of Unova to release their Pokemon, but for some reason, N encourages me to challenge him using Reshiram's counterpart, Zekrom. Where is Zekrom? He's chilling in the Darkstone. Why is he a stone? Who knows? Adler arrives, and with his vast knowledge of Unova, suspects that the Darkstone might be in Relic Castle. so we head there only to find Getsis. He tells us that the stone isn't there, and we believe him for some reason. Then, out of nowhere, we get a call from Professor Juniper to head to the museum in Nacrene City, because apparently, Lenora has been holding onto the Darkstone all along and hands it to us. That felt like a random sequence of events. At least we have the stone now, but we're not sure how to awaken Zekrom from it, so we make our way to Oplucid City to ask some people who might know. Gym leader Iris and her grandfather, Drayden. The two of them delve into some Unova lore of the fabled twin heroes and their dragons. Apparently, they destroyed Unova because of an argument over truth and ideals. To me, it sounds like fighting over that was kinda pointless.
Message!
In the end, they didn't know anything about how to awaken Zekrom from the stone, so we've got to just continue our journey to become champion and figure it out on the way. Ideally, I'd like to challenge this gym right now, but the truth is, I'd get destroyed, so let's spend some time preparing. Back in Route 9, I caught a Duocean, which was awesome, and I named him Zender. I then took a detour to Route 17 and 18 where I evolved him into a Reuniclus. But unfortunately, Abstract got unceremoniously taken out by some wild Pokemon. Not long after, I ran into this NPC who gifted me a Dust Stone. Why must you make me suffer? I also caught a Throw, who I threw into the PC, and I tried to catch a Bouffalant in Route 10, but it decided that it'd rather die than join me. So, this is the team we've got to work with going into the 8th gym. I don't have anything that's great against dragons except Sput, who's resistant to their moves, so I figured he was my best bet. Things were running smoothly until I learned the hard way that Drodagon knew the move Revenge. It was a complete oversight on my part not to check its moves beforehand. Against Iris, I pulled out All Reliable, Serp, to secure the win with the help of Vooper's Poison. With that, we have all 8 gym badges. It's time to make our way to the Pokemon League. Upon entering Victory Road, I realized that this might be my last chance to get a new team member. I really wanted a Dano, but alas, it wasn't meant to be. I ended up with a Durant instead, who I named Erd. Durant isn't bad, but I really wanted a Dragon type, and after doing some research, I found a way to make that happen without breaking the Nuzlocke's rules. A while ago, I accidentally skipped Mistralton Cave, which has a 20% encounter rate for Axew. On my first attempt, I ran into a Boldore, but good thing we have the Dupe's Claws. On my second attempt, luck was on my side. Welcome to the team, Stubby. Now, it's time to grind. I decided to train Nazgub with some Bouffalants and Throws in Route 10. All of their moves had no effect on Nazgub, so I could farm some EXP with peace of mind. I put in hours to finally evolve him, and then lost him to the Starminitan in Victory Road. But at least Stubby survived, and I evolved him all the way up into a Haxorus. As a last minute addition, I brought in Erd to replace Nazgub, and now, we've got our team of 6 for the Pokemon League. As this playthrough progressed, I learned about a common Nuzlocke rule: don't overlevel past the next gym. And well, you know how that's gone.
You can't keep getting away with it!
Old habits die hard, especially here because I was so afraid of losing Pokemon. But for this final stretch, I decided to do things the right way. The Elite Four's aces are level 50, so I've kept my team at level 50. I studied my opponents, optimized my team's items and movesets, and boosted their base stats. Let's do this. First up is Grimsley's Dark types. I had Vooper take care of his first few Pokemon, then swapped in Stubby to deal with Bisharp. I taught him Brick Break just for this matchup, which paid off. And then, Grimsley sent out his last Pokemon, Crocodile. In my eagerness to use Brick Break again for that sweet 4x stab, I completely forgot that Crocodile knew Dragon Claw, which one-shotted Stubby. Serp finished off this fight, but we're already 1 Pokemon down. Next, I battled against Caitlin's Psychic types. My plan was to rely on Erd to sweep her team, but to my literal shock, Reuniclus's Thunder threw my plan out the window. As a backup, I used Funny. I was worried about getting hit by Shadow Ball, but Funny's high defense helped us tank our way to the win. We had an easier time in our following match, with Marshall and his fighting types. Despite a few close calls, Zender managed to solo him with Psychic. The last member of the Elite Four was Chantal and her ghost types. Funny won a mirror match against her first Pokemon, Serp took out the second, then she sent out her Chandelure. I don't have a good matchup to fire, and I don't know how I've gotten this far without a water type. This sentient ornament took out my Pokemon one by one until it was just me and Serp left. We won the battle, but it didn't feel like a victory. What am I even supposed to do from here? I could train up the Pokemon I've boxed along the way. I think that's what I'm supposed to do in a Nuzlocke, but I really didn't feel motivated to. I was tired, I was so close to the end, and in a cowardly decision, I chose to accept defeat here and have a do-over. From here on, I consider the Nuzlocke lost, but we'll continue to follow its rules. Let's do this one more time. I think the domino that led to my defeat was losing Stubby, so when I fought Grimsley again, I made sure not to make that same mistake. and during our rematch with Caitlyn, Erd got lucky with Thunder missing, so he survived this time. Marshall's battle went the same as before, and then it was back to Chantal's Chandelure. This time, I had Stubby by my side. With a lucky critical Dragon Claw, we won. It's now time to face the champion, Adler. But what's this? We walk to the top of the league, only to find that N has already defeated him, and with this victory, he begins to usher in a new age for Team Plasma by unearthing their castle. I cannot comprehend the insane logistics of this operation. How is this possible? How long were they secretly building this underground? How many engineers died to make this work? My god. We enter the castle, and are confronted by the 6 most forgettable characters in this game. They try to stop me from reaching N, but then, we get a cool moment where the gym leaders swoop in to hold them off. This game did a really good job of tying in the gym leaders into the story. We press on through the castle's grand halls, and for some reason, I get the feeling that I'm about to have a bad time. This place is impressive, and the most intriguing part to me was N's room, an out-of-place, playful space with some unsettling music. I feel like I don't belong here, so let's grab this item and get the hell out of here. At long last, we reach N. He declares that he'll finally release all Pokemon, and challenges us to match his determination. Within Inferno, Reshiram makes a grand entrance, and its arrival triggers our Darkstone to finally awaken and transform into Zekrom. It's time to prove our worthiness to Zekrom in battle. Or just use the Master Ball. With this legendary Pokemon by my side, I swiftly put him into PC, because at this point, using a legendary Pokemon, that's just not how we roll. Let the battle with N begin. Going into this, I knew Reshiram would be a huge problem, because as we saw before, fire does not bode well for my team. For this battle, I taught Serp Dragon Tail. My plan was to use it to kick Reshiram out, then power up Stubby before he returned. I could have taught Dragon Tail to Stubby too, but I knew that he would have gotten KO'd before pulling it off. I naively believed that Serp's speed stat would prevail, but to my despair, Reshiram launched a monstrous Fusion Flare before I could attack. I hopelessly watched his health drop, and drop, until it stopped. Serp miraculously survived the Fusion Flare. With this sliver of opportunity, I used Dragon Tail. From then on, it was up to Stubby. By the time Reshiram was brought in, Stubby had Dragon Dance like he never had before, outspeeding and outpowering the rest of N's team. After this battle, Ghetsis arrives and reveals his true colors. He's a power-hungry maniac who wanted to use N and Reshiram to rule the world. I mean, it was kinda obvious, but N didn't know. Poor kid. Ghetsis cruelly berates and disowns him before taking one last stand. N has kinda grown on me, and do you dare disrespect him like that? N's still a king for all I care. Feel the wrath of the Dragon Dance Dragon Claw combo. After a humiliating defeat, Adler and Sharon take Ghetsis away, and we're left alone with N. He reminisces about when we first met, about how it puzzled him that Pokemon could happily live alongside humans. Our encounters have changed his way of thinking, and he encourages us to continue chasing our dreams and changing the world. With one final farewell, our journey ends. I think it's safe to say that the integrity of this Nuzlocke was questionable. I started out taking things lightly. Losing a few Pokemon felt like no big deal. I figured if things went really south, I could just start over. But a few gyms in, I got attached to my team and didn't want to lose anyone. I also didn't want to spend a bunch of time starting from scratch. So I overleveled, which I later learned is frowned upon in Nuzlockes. It took until the very end for me to finally muster up the courage to stick to a level cap. But ultimately, I still lost. Or technically I didn't lose, I just gave up, which is even worse. Despite my run shortcomings, I think I was able to get a better understanding of why so many people enjoy Nuzlockes. When I did make more intentional decisions for my team, and when I saw those strategies pay off, that felt really rewarding. It honestly made me regret not pushing myself more from the start. But I don't regret attempting this playthrough in the first place, because I was reminded of how fantastic Pokemon Black and White are. As a player that loves building region-exclusive teams, the region-exclusive Pokédex inadvertently made it easier for me to get the Pokemon I wanted in this Nuzlocke, with the help of the dupes class, of course. I remember Gen 5 Pokemon getting a lot of flack because people thought they looked ugly, but I think that's changed now. There's a lot to love from this Pokédex, and the sprite art animations do these designs justice. Speaking of art, coming off a Pokemon Platinum playthrough, the leap in visuals here was stunning. Game Freak did an amazing job making these pixelated environments feel three-dimensional, and I really wish they'd bring back this aesthetic in modern games. And the music was top-notch as always, and I was pleasantly surprised to discover little details like NPCs contributing to the soundtrack. I think the most ambitious achievement in these games though is its story, which is one of the series' best and most nuanced. While it didn't dive too deep into the complex morality of owning Pokemon, just exploring that topic in the first place was a bold move. I'm especially impressed with how the story balanced multiple characters, including Sharon and Bianca's quest for purpose, the gym leader's involvements with Team Plasma, and N's pursuit of truth versus ideals. This playthrough has me really excited to try Pokemon Black and White 2, which I've somehow never played before. I've heard great things though. Whether or not I'll Nuzlocke them though, that's still in the air. Either way, I think I'm in for a treat. Thanks so much for sticking with me through this journey. I know it's been a bit rough at times, but I hope you still enjoyed. Please subscribe if you haven't, and I'll see you next time.